guys, welcome back. Today's the day. We are going to be painting the Taito cabinets. We still haven't cut the stencils. We're going to do that this morning. I flipped all the panels over this morning. I heated up the spray booth to like 70 degrees just to get it warmed up a little bit. Because when that's all locked up and shut, it gets cold in there. It was probably 50 some degrees in there because there's no heat source going in there when it's not being used. So I just gave it a little bit of heat. I didn't want to go crazy with it. So basically I have everything flipped over. What we're going to do is we're going to take our sprayway window cleaner. We're going to wipe everything down after I blow off the dust. And then what we're going to do is the top, the two tops, the two speaker pieces, those are going to get single stage matte black finish paint. Okay, so those are going to get painted, and once they're painted, an hour or so after they're painted, I'll slide them out of the spray booth. Those will be done at that point. I don't need to put a clear on those because I'm going to use a matte clear on the front and sides of the cabinet. The reason why I'm doing those separate with a single stage is A, save on material, so I don't have the process of putting down a black base coat with a matte finish clear over top of it. And B, to get them out of my way so I have more room to work in there, because I've got 4 sides, 2 fronts, 2 speaker grills pieces, and then 2 tops of the cabinet. So it's a little crammed in there, not bad, but you know, I want to be able to space it out a little bit so I'm not bumping into everything. So I'm going to show you everything I use. I'm going to show you all the products. I'm going to show you how I'm doing it, why I'm doing it. This is going to be a long video, okay? This is going to probably be an hour and a half, 2-hour video. I'll try to shorten it up if I can. I might be able to by simply showing the spraying process in a fast forward motion. That'll definitely save some time. So maybe it won't be a 2-hour video. But in my downtime, after I put the black base coat on the sides and the front of the cabinet, it needs to dry. They recommend 45 minutes before taping on it. I'm going to give it 2 hours, okay? I want to try to do this without screwing up. I've done plenty of side art stencils in the past for Williams games and stuff like that. This is the first full side stencil I've ever done. I've done the Williams partial ones. They always seem to be partials. Like Moon Patrol. What else did I do? Stargate was close to a full one, but this is by far the biggest of them all. Now the gray I'm using is a single stage paint. Okay, so a single stage automotive paint will dry shiny, because when you spray that, that is the final product of the paint, and it is basically ready to go. Like if you painted your car with single stage gray, it's going to be shiny, you're done. Wet sand and buff it, send it on its way. I could not find single or gray, non-metallic gray in a base coat that wouldn't have cost me a fortune. Okay, I could have found it, yes. It would have been about $100 for a quart. Okay, I bought this single stage gray for $38. So, you know, you do the math there. It's almost a third of the price with tax. So, what I plan on doing is after the black base coat dries for a couple hours, we're going to apply the decals. We're going to apply a couple light coats of this gray. Okay, it's going to be sticky for a little bit. It gets a hardener in it. So we're going to let it set for about an hour to 2 hours, and then we're going to peel the decals off. Okay, and at that point, we're going to use a satin clear over top of everything. You can do this because I'm using the single stage urethane paint. Okay, the clear coat I'm using is once again a urethane product. It's made by the same company. It's all made by Summit Racing. It's all the same company. It's all the same hardener. It's all the same reducers. Everything is identical, other than one is color and one is clear. So by putting this matte finish clear over top of the gray and the black, it's going to give the whole cabinet the same shininess throughout. So this was just a cheaper way of doing it to save a little bit on materials, because everything is so expensive now. I don't want to spend $300 on paint to paint 2 arcade cabinets, plus stencils. Plus yesterday I'm I'm thinking about painting this, and I'm like, all right, we gotta get the stencils cut. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I forgot to order more masking material. And the masking material goes over the top of the stencil. And what that does is, when you peel the back of the stencil, it holds the front together so that you can apply it to the cabinet. Once you apply it to the cabinet, you pull off the pre-mask, which is on the outside. So I totally forgot to order more. We didn't have enough. And I'm like, crap, now what am I gonna do? I wanna get this painted this weekend. I kinda got the weekend to get it done because I need to work on this truck again, because I wanna get this thing into paint hopefully next weekend, depending on weather, if I can pull it outside and into the other side, as long as we don't have 2 feet of snow. But anyways, I was like, crap, now what am I gonna do? I was gonna order some on Amazon, which would have been here Sunday, which our Amazon usually doesn't show up till like 8 o'clock at night, which would have screwed me into having to do it on Monday, which would have wasted my whole Monday painting these when I need to be doing regular work on Monday. So I went to Walmart and I bought Cricut material, pre-mask. It should be fine. I paid $5 a roll for a 12-inch by 6-foot piece, okay? And then I found some other rolls there they had for $8, which were 12 inches wide by 12 feet. So I bought 10 rolls of material between the two. So I have more than I need. It was 40 some dollars. So basically between the stencil and the pre-mask, I'm $100 into it. But the cheapest place I could find the stencils online were $150 per cabinet, which is $300 plus shipping, and it was from out of the United States, which would take probably a couple weeks to get it. So it probably would have cost me $340 to $350 for 2 sets of stencils to do this. So I'm only $100 into it, so that's not bad. I could have gotten a bigger roll of pre-mask from Amazon for $50 for the same price as what I paid at Walmart. But like I said, sometimes your time is valuable to you, so you want to try to do whatever you can to get done what you have planned in your head and on your schedule to do. So that's what I'm doing. I'm pushing forward because I want to get this done. Still waiting on parts for Journey because I want to get that out of here too. I keep having to move it in and out of the spray booth so that it's not getting filthy or overspray or dust or anything on it. So I'm just waiting on parts so I can get that thing wrapped up. I did get the rest of the connectors for my kickband harness the other day, so now we can get that built and finish that game up as well. So let's go and I'll show you what I'm going to do. We're going to blow everything off. I'll wipe one down on camera, or maybe I'll wipe them all down on camera just in high speed. But I'm going to blow everything off with the fan on, get all the dust off of it. And then I'll show you what I'm going to use for paint. We're going to put the paint on the tops and the speaker parts first. As soon as I'm done with that, we are going to spray the black base coat. Now, black base coat is what you use on automotive for cars. It goes down before you put the clear coat on. And the great thing about base coat is, like I said, 45 minutes, you can start taping on it. So when you're doing an intricate paint job, like this truck at one point, 25 years ago, I painted this thing two-tone. It was maroon on the top, silver on the sides. I was able to do the whole paint job in one day because of the simple fact of using base coat, because you have that window of where you can tape it after 45 minutes. Now the good thing about the base coat is you have 24 hours before you have to top coat it with your clear, okay? So the moment I get done spraying that black base coat on the sides and front, I have 24 hours to have it clear. At that point, after 24 hours, you need to scuff it with a red Scotch-Brite pad or a gray Scotch-Brite pad. Black, you can get away with red. And then you have to reapply base before you can clear it. So we have a good window of time. I just hope that the stencils turn out okay and they go on the cabinet decent and all that. Little nervous about that because these stencils are a little bit more intricate, I guess I would say, because it's got that band that goes around the outer edge, you know. And we're taking this artwork from arcadeartwork.org, okay? So I'm taking measurements of the cabinet so that we can make sure that it's sized appropriately. But I don't know that they have it drawn perfectly to match these curves and stuff. I'm just hoping that it is. The image we downloaded the image onto the computer. We put it onto the the printing / cutting program, and we looked at the image. We blew up the image really big. And a lot of times when you take artwork for arcade related stuff and you download it off a site and you blow it up really big, let's say you blow up a corner that's this big and you make it this big on your screen, what you'll see, a lot of these artwork you'll see is your lines that define the cabinet. It'll all be jagged, okay? It won't be great and straight. And it's so minute that when you print it to full size, you really don't notice it much, okay? But when you expose it on the computer and blow it up, 100 times or 50 times its size, you can see it. It's just all jagged lines. This one, we blew it up and it looks really straight. So fingers crossed, that's a good sign because the lines are nice, straight, and crisp. So hopefully the curvature of the cabinet matches the curvature of the stencils we're going to be cutting. If not, if it's really close, we're going to fudge it and make it work. I'm sure that some of these cabinets were not probably perfect as far as how the stencil lined up from the factory, when they painted it. Or I don't even know what they really used on here. I think it was a stencil that was painted. I mean, it had to have been. But anyways, that's pretty much what I plan on doing here, so I figured I'd go over it with you real quick. I wanted to put it at the beginning of the video because a lot of people probably don't watch the video all the way through and they miss all the important information because they don't watch the video all the way through, because a lot of times I'll talk about everything that happened and what I did towards the end of the video. Now I figured why not do it at the beginning so that people can get an idea of what I'm talking about. So let's go in the spray booth here. Oh, real quick before we go in there. So while I have this time frame of paint drying, okay, I'm gonna give it 2 hours before I put the stencils on. I'm gonna put the gray paint on. Then I'm gonna give it probably an hour to 2 hours before I pull the stencils. So that's the first paint, the 2 hour window, I can go 3 hours if I need to. I'm gonna go in the house, we're gonna get the stencils cut. We're gonna weed them out and then put the pre-mask on the outside. And then at that point, it's probably gonna be an hour or two. And then we're gonna get that done. The second pause I take before I clear them, I want to reassemble these coin doors. And I also would like to take all the carriage bolts out of the tumbler and my cup and polish them, okay? So I wanna take them on my metal polisher, which is a little messy back here. I got to get this stuff out of here, but I need to get the back building done. So this buffer right here is for polishing metal, okay? So we're going to use a rouge, which I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's a stick that is used to polish aluminum, stainless. It depends. I have a couple different colors depending on what I use. You can polish brass, all kinds of stuff. On my other channel, I had done a bar, and I painted a bar, and then I put brass railings on it. Well, the corners came unpolished. And that's why that wheel's black right now, because I had to polish a bunch of brass parts on a bar. But anyways, it doesn't matter that the wheel's black. That's not going to hurt anything. So I want to show you how I'm going to polish all these bolts to make them look like chrome. And then when we put the cabinet back together, it's going to give it a nice pop to have like chrome looking bolts on there. Originally they were just silver, I believe, from the factory, but we're going to go one step farther and make them look a little cooler. Over time they might eventually dull down a little bit. So here's all the sides flipped over. As you can see, these are not marks, these are just dirt from sitting on the stand. But see all this dust? We need to blow all this dust off. We need to thoroughly wipe everything down, and then we need to tack rag everything after we clean it all down. And then at that point we are ready to start. Gotta get these wires up, or they're gonna drive me nuts. We're going to start by putting the single stage on those cabinets, over those pieces over there, those 4 down there, and then we will base coat all this. The reason why I'm painting that first, okay, is because the air intake comes from this side of the spray booth, okay? It comes through those filters and it comes out this way, okay? So if I put base coat on all this first and then paint those, all that overspray is going to come and land on my base coat. I would rather have that overspray underneath my base coat than on top of my base coat. So hopefully that makes sense. So let me get set up. We're gonna blow all this stuff off, and then we're gonna wipe it down with the spray away window cleaner, and then we're gonna use a tack cloth and get all the dust off it. And then at that point, we're gonna mix up our single stage, which I'm actually, let's go put it in the mixer now, because that has a mixing top on it, because I use it so much that I keep it so that I can put it right into my mixer, which is right here. This is just hot rod, single stage, matte finish black, okay? So it just goes in here. It has a spinning top here, and what this does is there's a double mixing paddle inside, and it just mixes the paint up. Now I'll run this for 15 minutes, and that's gonna stir it up really well. Now, what also I'm gonna do is, I don't have a ton of this, but I should have enough of it. I got about a half a gallon of this. That should be plenty for the fronts and sides. This is the Hot Rod Clear. This will go over top. So I'm gonna stick that in there now too, and let that mix up. I'll have to remix it again. But this stuff, if you don't mix this before you spray it, it's weird. The stuff is milky, okay? And what happens is all the milky substance goes to the bottom of the gallon, and then you'll have clear at the top. So you have to make sure you thoroughly mix it, because if you don't, what happens is as you're taking it out of this gallon, if it was never mixed properly, the first half of this gallon, if you spray it like that and then you really start mixing the bottom half, the top half will be shinier, whatever you paint, versus what you paint at the bottom. So it's very, very important to mix that stuff. 15 minutes is a good amount of time to mix it. So let me turn on the fans. I got to open up the doors for the filters for the intake, and we're going to blow everything off, and then we're going to use this glass cleaner from Spray Away. Spray Away. I always say spray away. It's Spray Away. Guess just the way it comes out. And then we're going to use, normally I use these lint-free towels here, okay? These are a lint-free towel for painting cars. But the new thing is everybody's been doing this, and it works. We're going to use these microfiber towels, okay? These come on a roll. You can get these at Walmart. You can order them on Amazon. They're not super cheap. They are reusable. These are a lint-free towel. They're not going to have lint in it. So I'm going to use this today with the window cleaner, and that's what we're going to use to wipe everything down. Now, a roll of these are like 15 bucks, but there's like 75 towels in there, and you can wash them and reuse them. When I wash them and reuse them, I don't use them for paint a second time, because we have dogs, 3 dogs, and a cat. And if anybody has animals, you know, no matter what you do, you have animal hair. And I just get nervous that animal hair will be stuck in there. So what I do is, after I use them for painting, I wash them, and I use them for shop towels, shop rags, you know, cleaning up grease, wiping your hands off, whatever. So it's really not a bad price for like 15 bucks for a roll of this stuff, because you can use them a second time, a third time. I mean, you can keep them shop towels as long as you want, you know, if you want. So, all right, I'm gonna get out here, get these blown off, and start wiping them down. Okay, one last thing I want to do. There's a couple spots where I broke through to the bare wood. There's a spot here, just a few little spots. I'm going to take this 1K Spray Max primer. This is an automotive primer in a spray can, and we're just going to hit these areas. We don't have to sand it, but I just want to put a little bit of gray coverage over top of it. Reason being, you don't want your base coat to possibly take a little different here than it would in the rest of the panel because of it absorbing into the wood differently than it would into the primer that's already on the cabinet. So I just need to go around, just hit a couple little spots, nothing major. It dries within a couple minutes because it's getting warm in here now. So I'm going to hit all these spots real quick. If people are wondering how can I paint when it's 10 degrees outside, it's 70 degrees in here right now, is the heat that comes into here is extremely warm. So basically if I hold this up here, 253 degree heat is coming into this room while 10 degree air is being pulled in from outside. So end result is it keeps the temperature up in here because I have more heat coming in than I do cold air. Now, when the fans are turned off when I go to bake, that heat source goes up to 380 degrees. So at that point you have 380 degrees coming out of that heater, and you're heating up a room that is 12.6 by 26 feet long and 9 feet tall. So as you can tell, it makes it heats it really fast. I'm having an issue with one of my exhaust fans. It keeps wanting to work and not work. Problem is the exhaust fans in the spray booth are explosion-proof fans, okay? What an explosion-proof fan is all the internals of the motor are in a sealed housing with an O-ring. So flammable material, paint, stuff like that cannot catch on fire or explode because anything that would spark is contained inside of the housing of the motor. It has no access, to outside air. One of them is spinning slowly. It'll eventually turn on full. So there are a couple capacitors that are on the outside of the motor that are wrapped in like shrink wrap. I'm wondering if one of those capacitors is going bad. It sucks because those stupid motors are $500 a piece. There's 2 of them in there. So if I gotta buy a new motor, I might have to buy a new motor, which is $500. And that's what people don't understand. When I paint cars for people, and they're like, why are you charging $10,000, $15,000 to paint a car? Do you know what it takes to paint a car? Do you know how much money it costs? It's a couple $1,000s just in materials to paint a car. Plus all the labor involved, you know what I mean? Plus running the heater, running the electricity, running the fans when fans break, when, it's a lot. There's a lot of expense behind it. And people don't understand that, unfortunately. You can explain it to them and they still don't understand it. You have waste materials that have to be properly taken care of. You can't just go taking your old paint and throw it in the ground or in the drain. You can't do that. You're not allowed. You get in trouble. That's why I have a gun washing cabinet over there, because it recycles the thinner. It doesn't. I'm not throwing the thinner away. And what happens with that washing station for the guns is, over time it just evaporates out, and then at that point it's a solid. You're allowed to throw away solid paint. So whatever I have left over in these mixing cups, I leave them sit. Once they dry hard, you can throw it away. You're allowed to throw away the hard product. You're not allowed to throw away the liquid, because the liquid will seep into the ground and contaminate the earth. So you got to be cautious of all that stuff. This is automotive paint versus latex paint. It doesn't matter. Wash it down your drain. It's latex paint. I don't know about like Rust-Oleum oil base and stuff like that. Really don't use it, so I can't really give you much thought on that. I would imagine it's probably more towards the lines of automotive paint, where you probably should dispose of it properly. But yeah, all this stuff plays a factor. And the only reason why I paint a lot of my cabinets with this stuff is because simply I have the material left over. When I do a job, if I know that I need a quart of satin black for something, I buy a gallon, because what happens if I screw up? Now I gotta buy a second quart. By the time I buy 2 quarts, I might as well buy a gallon, because it's gonna be about the same price. So I always buy more than I need. That 59 Impala I painted was just the blue color itself. 1 gallon of blue for that car was $1,350, you know, plus the clear and everything else. So these people don't comprehend all that, you know, sometimes. So what are you gonna do? You know, I don't make the prices of the materials. I wish they were $500, believe me, because I can get a lot cheaper. I can get more work probably because it would be cheaper to do. I try to keep my costs down way more than anybody else when I do stuff. But anyways, so this is the main reason why you want to wipe your cabinets down really well. As you can see, there's some gray residue, even though I blew it off really well. And also, you saw me rubbing my bare hand on the cabinet. I washed my hands really good with wax and grease remover before I started. I didn't use wax and grease remover on these because I'm not worried about it. But even after I washed it with that, my tack rag still has some gray on it. So now, when you put paint over it, chances are you're not going to get dirt in the paint because it's going to seal it in. But the reason why you want to clean all this stuff off as best as possible is if you have dust like this left on your panel and you put paint on it, how well is your paint going to hold? Your paint is holding to dust, not to the panel itself. So you got to keep all that stuff in mind. If you want a good adhesion, you have to clean the panel and get all the possible dust and dirt and grease off that you can. If you don't, you're going to have delamination, and it's basically you take your fingernail and peel it off, or you can possibly peel a corner of it up. So that's pretty much it with that. So now I'm going to mix up this single stage satin black for the tops and the speaker panel. We're going to get that painted. As soon as I'm done with that, we're going to mix up some base coat black, which I'll show you that next. These are all disposable cups that I use. So basically, once I'm done, when you mix up the single stage colors or clear, it gets a hardener. Once you put that hardener in here, you cannot take this extra paint and pour it back in your gallon. It is now garbage. So whatever's left in here, I leave it in these cups. It dries out, it gets hard, and then I can throw it away. This is a cheaper setup for me to use this stuff than it is for me to throw the old paint into a 5-gallon pail, because then at that point I have to take it to a recycling place to dispose of it, and it gets very, very expensive. They also sell a paint cleaning system. It's like a kiln, which I don't know that I'll ever get into that. It's expensive. It's probably about $3 to $4 grand. And I don't paint enough to do that. I really only paint a couple cars a year for the most part, and I do a bunch of arcade stuff. But I don't know if it would be cost effective to do that. Also, another thing is if you're using an air compressor to paint, you got to make sure you have clean, dry air. I happen to have a water separator unit here. Okay, this runs on it's like an air conditioner in a way. There's coolant in there or Freon in there, and what it does is it dries the air coming into the spray booth and into this room here. So basically there's a line coming from the compressor through the walls, a copper line, and it comes into this unit here, and what it does is this unit dries it, and then there is a discharge pipe that just drips water out the other end. So it takes the water and it dries it in the line. So if you have hot air coming from your air compressor, it's going to contain water in it, and it makes its way over here, and that dries it. Now, obviously, 99% of people are not going to have that because they don't do this kind of stuff. So, you can go to Harbor Freight, you can go online, you can buy these here. These work pretty good. These are, you put them on the end of your spray gun. There's an element in there, and what it does is it dries the air. It keeps the air from coming through the spray gun, because you don't, or the water. You don't want water in your paint because it's going to screw your paint job up. So now I'm going to go ahead and mix this up. Summit Racing, you can get a gallon of this hot rod satin black with hardener for like $100, okay? And you can get quite a few cabinets out of this for $100. It's a 4-to-1 mix, 4 parts paint, 1 part hardener. Now, 99% of what I use is a slow hardener. I have to use a slow hardener because I have air movement. When you have a lot of air movement in your spray booth, you have to use a slow hardener, because if you use a medium or a fast hardener, what happens is as you're painting, it is drying too quickly, okay? So you won't achieve a really glossy, smooth paint job, because what will happen is paint needs to flow out, they call it, okay? When you first spray paint, it's a little bit textury. Well, as it's drying, it's flowing out, it's flattening out, okay? So you need a slow in a spray booth because you have air movement, so it's wanting to dry the paint quicker. So you want, in turn, you want the paint to dry slower. But we're only painting those 4 small panels right now with the single stage. So we're going to use a medium so that I can get it to dry quicker so that I can take them out of the spray booth. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this up. 4 parts paint, 1 part reducer, and then I'm going to put 10% reducer in it. I'm sorry, 1 part hardener, and then I'm going to put 10% reducer in it just to thin it down a little bit so that it sprays a little smoother. I have to tape off the 2 metal plates on the back of the cabinet real quick because I did untape them yesterday. I'm going to go do that, get this mixed up, and we're going to spray those, and then we're going to come in here and we're going to mix up our black base coat, which this is just a straight black base coat. And we're going to put this down on all the other panels, and then it's going to set for a few hours. Then I'm going to come back and we're going to put the stencils on and go from there. So let me get this ready to go and I'll be right back. I had run out. I had to mix up a little bit more. I wasn't liking how that sprayed. Those will probably be dry enough in 15 minutes for me to get them out of there, so I don't even have to worry about them. I did take measurements of the side so that we can check the measurements on the computer to this and see if we're close for the stencils. So now I'm going to mix up the base coat, which is a 1-to-1 mix. 1 part base coat, 1 part reducer. So if I put 12 ounces of base coat, I got to put 12 ounces of reducer. Now I'm going to put a little bit less reducer because this has already been reduced a little bit. Because whatever you don't use on this stuff, you can put back into the can because it does not have a hardener in it. So I'm going to get this mixed up, and then we're going to go out there, we're going to paint all those sides and the 2 fronts. I'm going to get those other panels out of there in a minute. Let's go take a look at them. They're drying really fast because I used that medium hardener. So they're a little bit straight looking still because they're not fully dry, but you can see they're drying really quickly. This one's almost dry. Still got a little bit of streaking that I'm waiting to dry out. But I'll be able to move these out of here in probably about 10 minutes or so. So I'm going to work on mixing this up, get my spray gun clean, which is in the cleaning cabinet right now, and then we will get the base coat put on all the other panels. Okay, so now I sit and wait. You can see sanding marks. It's not a big deal. This is a solid color. It does not have metal flake. You will not see it once it's clear coated. Now, I only put 2 light coats of black on there. I did a real light coat and then I did a medium coat. If this was a metallic paint color, you would not be able to do it like that, because what would happen is you would end up with a bunch of blotchiness in your silver metallic, or whatever color metallic you're spraying. So I did the first coat really light because I wanted that one to dry really fast. And then I just did a medium coat on top. I only have enough black on there to just make it cover. That's all I want, is the black to fully cover the gray so that it looks black. Once again, those sanding marks will go away. If this was a car, I would have put down an epoxy primer as a sealer first, and that would have gotten rid of the sanding marks, and then the black paint wouldn't have had it in there. But it doesn't matter with black, red, white, solid colors, because once you put the clear on, it hides all that and gets rid of it. So now I'm going to let this set for a couple hours. It's around noon right now, so around 2:30 I'm going to come back, and we're going to start putting the stencils on, and then we can put the gray on, let it set for a little bit, and then peel the stencils off and clear it. So hopefully everything goes well so far. Everything's looking really good. Let's go out there and look at the other parts. I took them out of the spray booth before I started painting this. I'm letting the fans run for about another 15 minutes with the heat, just to make sure that it starts drying really well. So these are the other parts here. They're almost dry. They're dry enough for me to have moved them out. But you can see how it's got that nice finish on there. Looks brand new. I untaped the two badges on the back and stuff like that. We are going to be printing the stickers that go there. This one's mine. It's a little rough right there. This one is way better shape, but it's fine. Nobody's ever going to see the back. But it's coming along, guys. So I'll be back in a couple hours, and we'll start putting the stencils on. All right, guys, welcome back. It's probably been close to 4 hours. I was doing other things. We cut one stencil so far because when we downloaded the artwork from arcadeartwork.org, the measurements were a little bit different than what I measured on the sides of the cabinet. So hopefully we repositioned everything correctly so that when I put it on the cabinet, it lines up good. So I figure we do one first to see how it lines up. And what I'm using is called Aura Mask. Okay, it is Aura Mask 813 is the number on it. It's a masking film for doing stuff like this. So I have here is, let's see, these are both the same one, so it's going to be one of these down here. Let's go down to this one. Now this might take me a little bit to position this properly. Now, we just got to see how it fits. Hopefully it fits. Yeah, it looks about right. Not looking too bad. I'm going to have to grab some tape, a nice razor blade, tape measure, stuff like that. So right off the bat, I noticed this is a little bit bigger of a band here in black than there, and I'm actually going to look at a picture, because right here, that's a little big too. I mean, you're only going to get it so close. I mean, see, that's about pretty fat there, and it's smaller down here. curve is not too bad, really. I mean, it's a little off, but like I said, you can only do so much with it, guys. All right, we're gonna grab a tape measure and some tape, and we're gonna get this thing applied on here. Okay, let's try to take some measurements here. I'm gonna go from that white line up. That's pretty damn close there. Inch underneath. Okay, we're crooked back here. That made that a little bit shorter right there. It's not bad. Believe me, I've seen some of these stencils and they're really off. So basically, off of that site, it was close, but the problem is like I measured this back here. I don't have the measurements in here. I think this was 57.5, and they had it at like 59.5. And over here, I think I was at 64.5, and I think they had that at like 67.5. So they had the angle correct, but it was a little oversized. So we had to shrink it and then shrink it this way a little bit. Now, as far as this curve goes, without going through a huge ordeal and trying to redraw this, you know, you gotta kinda, when you shrink it both ways, it kind of like readjusts itself, you know what I mean? And there's really not much more you can do with that unless you want to spend a ton of time trying to figure that out. And to me, it's not worth it because I don't think any of these things were perfect. But I think it's pretty good, and I think where it's sitting is really good. I'm going to measure it again. I forgot to grab some tape out of the back room. I'm going to go grab some tape. We're going to tape this where it's at, and then start peeling back part of it, and then peel the other side, get it stuck down, and then we got to cut 3 more. 1 more this way, flip the image, cut the other 2 sides. Now when we flip the image, we also have to make sure we flip the Taito, because if you don't flip the Taito, it's going to be backwards. So it'll spell Taito backwards, so we need to flip it for the other side. So all right, I'm going to go ahead and grab some tape and some razor blade, and we're going to start applying this to the piece of wood. I want to be careful because I don't want to move it. Plus, I don't want to scratch the black paint. So basically, the difference between Kix and Pirate Pete, I think Pirate Pete is white and the Kix is gray, but the difference is how you weed out the vinyl. So basically, the way that this is weeded out, everything that's white is going to turn gray, okay? And then on Pirate Pete, it's reversed. Everything that is white is black, everything that is blue is white. So they reversed it on Pirate Pete versus Kicks. Now my stencils for Burger Time, I ordered those from This Old Game. They did them for me. I have them in the basement. I wasn't messing with those because I think there's like 4 different stencils per side. And I was like, you know what? By the time I figure all that out, try to get reference points on where it has to line up and everything, it would just be easier for me to order it. So that's what I did with that one. Now, before I start peeling the back off, I want to go around and make sure that this is pushed down really good. My pre-mask or my masking tape, whatever you want to call it, because when you start pulling the back off, you will take artwork with you if you don't have it applied to this top masking layer. Here's a real critical point. You got to make sure that you cut this paper and you don't drag your knife on the cabinet below. You'll be real pissed off at yourself if you have a scratch line in your paint, because then either you fix it or you clear over it or paint over it and it shows through the paint job. Now what I'm going to do is I'm rolling it down ever so gently like this. Okay? I do have a wrinkle in it. Might be a problem. Hopefully that won't affect what I'm doing here. Sometimes you can get a wrinkle in the outer pre-mask and that's not a big deal. Right through here. I think we're okay. I'll tell you what, this pre-mask from Walmart's pretty freaking nice. It costs a lot more money than if I were to buy a big roll from the sign place, but I'll tell you what, I like this stuff. So far. I haven't tried taking it off yet. I might not like it after that. Obviously the other stencils I'm going to do off camera. I don't need to show you all 6 pieces going on. I'll bet you it's going to be 6 o'clock by the time I get all these stencils applied. And then after that, it gets easier. First one, second one, I need to start down here. This pre-mask is only 12 inches wide. Now the stencil material is not very sticky. So you gotta really go around afterwards and make sure it's all pushed down. Try to get out all the air bubbles because that makes it nicer. Now I'm not going to go too crazy right now, fully sticking it down because it might loosen up again before I'm ready to paint. So I'm just trying to get it down somewhat for the most of it down for now, and I will go over it right before I paint. Now taking off the pre-mask always helps if you lay it flat like this on the cabinet and slowly work it off. Wiggling it right to left also helps get it started. Such a waste of material. You put it on, you rip it right back off. Oh well. I like this mask better than the paper one, because the paper one you can't see through it and you can't really get a good visual of things like you can with this one. These bubbles that are around the edges, those are very important that you try to get those out as much as you can. And that's actually a hole there and there for the carriage bolts, but you want to really push down your masking around those areas, because if any of that is lifted, when you go to put your paint, it's going to seek its way underneath it. Now this is black paint underneath, so the good thing is if any gray bleeds through, I could take a paintbrush and touch it up, clear it, and you won't notice it. And I'm going to try to put the gray on as thin as I possibly can, just enough to turn it gray. That is it. I don't want to be piling it on too much. Thinner is better. We're going for coverage, not build. You don't need to build it thick. Like I said, I'll go around and push it all down real good at the end. We got one more thing to do. Grab another roll of masking tape real quick. So what we have to do is, we made a cut line right here at the edge. And I need to cover it up with tape, because if I don't, gray is going to get through that cut line, and it is going to leave a tiny little faint gray line of paint. And we do not want that. So the way this is taped all jagged does not matter. Like I said, just covering up that cut line. It will not affect it whatsoever. Okay, other than pushing it down a little bit more, we have 1 down, 3 to go. And then the front part, which is real small. It's gonna look awesome. It's gonna look really nice. Just need to take my time with the other ones. Then when you go to paint, like I said, put it on real thin, and you might have to push it down between coats, the masking. You can't use regular vinyl. If you use regular printing vinyl, the automotive paint will eat into it. Plus, it's a really aggressive adhesive, and it'll stick to your paint that you already have down and cause major issues. Ask me how I know. I might have tried it once. Didn't work out so well. So, all right, well that's that. I'm gonna come back once I get them all masked, and we will get the gray on. Now what I'm gonna do while I'm waiting for the other ones to cut, I'm gonna go out there and start putting those coin doors together. First thing I wanna do is polish up the lenses on these coin return buttons. We're gonna try it with this polisher without putting any compound on the wheel and see what it does. These are what they look like now. Go grab some regular compound. I don't want to use that stuff because that's just going to probably turn it black. Some regular automotive polishing compound. Put a little bit on here. It's probably going to fling all over the place. That's a new wheel. Oh, it's flinging dust or cotton all over me. Here's the difference. I got to clean it a little bit more. See the difference in the shininess of it? Hopefully you can. This one's got like a blackish dirt to it. I need to get a towel over here so I can wipe them off. but you get the idea. Now I want to show you these bolts real quick. So I'm going to give you a before look here. So look at these bolts right here. Kind of like a little bit shiny. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these rouges and let's see what we got here. This is for copper, brass, aluminum, and most metals. This is high polish finish on copper, brass, stainless steel, and steel. So this is one we're going to use, the green one. So what you want to do is just take a little bit of this stuff, you put it on your wheel. See that? Chrome. Small ones should go pretty quick. So I'm going to sit here and polish all these things, but you can see the difference, hopefully on the camera. It's so hard to get a view of this. There we go. Go up close. See that? Huge difference. That's going to look really nice. So I'm going to get these lenses cleaned off and we're going to put one of the two coin doors together and then I'll put the other one together off camera. Let's get this thing back together. Okay, so first parts are these upper ones here, and they slant upwards. These are pretty quick to put back together. Okay, now we can put our coin return buttons in. Two that I polished so far. I'm gonna go in like this. This flapper part goes on the side that has that recess. That's for the coin. Then we got to get two springs here. I always put the fat side this way. Is that right or am I wrong? Yeah, I'm right. Okay, and now it's this one we need. Nope, is it this one? Yes, okay. Now we slide this into the bottom slot. There's a bottom groove that this slides into. And it just goes over the studs. And we gotta put our 3 nuts on. And other than a lock cylinder, we're done with this. Oops. Like I said, I'll do the other one off camera, and then I'm going to sit there and polish all those bolts off camera as well. All right. There you have it, guys. Get a close-up look at that. A little dusty, but sorry. Looks brand new. Brand new used. So, all right, I'm going to work on the other one. Work on polishing these bolts while I'm waiting for the stencils to get cut. And I'll be back after all the stencils are applied, and then we'll put the gray paint on. All right, guys, they're all taped off, ready to go. Now, I got to be really careful because you see how that lifts right there? You got to make sure that you push it down, so you gotta work quick. I want to put the color down very, very lightly. I don't want to put it down heavy. I just want to cover it. That's all I'm looking for here. Less is more in this situation, so we need to just be careful, because when you're putting these stencils, you don't want these stencils to stick really hard, because if they stick really hard, you're going to screw up your paint underneath. So by them not having a lot of adhesion makes it, you know, want to pucker up in some spots. But that's just how it is. Like I said before, if we get a little bit of gray that blows underneath some of the stuff, we'll touch it up. Not a big deal. I'm not too concerned about that. So I'm going to go ahead and get some gray mixed up. This is once again a 4-to-1 mix. 4 parts paint, 1 part hardener. We're going to use the medium hardener, and I'm going to put a little bit of reducer in it, actually probably a little bit more than normal, so that I can thin it out, so that it's just spray on thinner. So I'm going to get this ready, and as I am painting, I'm going to tack cloth off each piece as I go. I don't know where I put my tack cloth. Well, I'll find it. So I'm going to get this mixed up. We're going to get out there and start painting. All right, that's it for the gray. We're gonna let it set for a good hour, hour and a half. I'm gonna go eat dinner. Come back out here, we'll untape it, touch up any black that needs to be touched up, and then we are ready for clear. I have a pretty good feeling. I think it's going to turn out really well. I can tell by how it painted and how, for the most part, the stencil stayed down. Might be a couple little tiny spots that we need to clean up. Not a big deal. Take care of that pretty easily. So that's going to be the next step. And then that's going to end this video. I've been working on this all day, off and on, you know, between doing the first painting, putting the coin doors together, which I only got one put together so far, weeding the vinyl, you know, pulling out all the pieces that I didn't want, and you can't put this extra paint in there because it has a hardener. I used about a half a quart for 2 cabinets. When I do the Alpine ski, I'm going to see if I can find a powder blue color for that so I can paint as well. But yeah, between weeding vinyl, doing all this stuff, the whole day is already gone. It's like 7 o'clock at night already. But that's fine. I'm going to go eat, take a break for an hour, hour and a half, come back out here, carefully untape this, and then we're going to clear it. Now keep in mind, this paint is thin. I put it on there thin, but it's going to be sticky for a little while because it is a single stage paint. It's like once you put the clear on, the clear stays sticky for a while until it fully cures. Now I used a medium hardener, which is going to help speed the process along. We're going to use medium hardener with the clear as well, just to help it all dry a little faster. So I'm going to go ahead, take a break. I'll be back in a little bit and we will untape this and see what everything looks like. I think it's a really nice gray too. I don't think that's bad at all. So, all right guys, I'll be back. Okay, I'm ready to start untaping these. Let's start on this one and just kind of take a look. I'm just going to kind of untape them all. We'll take a look at it. Everything untaped extremely well. There's like a couple tiny little spots. Right here is one. And I'm just going to use a little marker, an acrylic marker. Right here we got a little bit of overspray. The weirdness of the tape and stuff will all go away when I clear it. That's just, you know, from the tape being on there. And I might have gotten it a little too hot in the spray booth by total accident. I wasn't paying attention. And I might have ran it up to 170 degrees for a couple minutes. But everything's dry. You can touch everything. Stuck on there. I might have to touch up this gray right here a little bit. Right here. There's a piece of tape or something stuck. So the hardest thing was these little tiny dots in the center of the R. One of them didn't make it. This one right here did not make it. So I'm going to put a little dot in there. We're going to make a black dot. There you go. I'm trying to see if there's anything else in here as I make you guys sick with my awesome camera work. Thought there was something on this one. Well, I'm gonna look around a little bit more, and then I'm gonna start mixing up the clear, get it going in the paint mixer, and then get these cleared up. All right, I'm gonna get this clear mixed up. Once again, 4-to-1. Everything's uses the same hardener and reducer and all that good stuff. Probably gonna have to order another gallon of this stuff, but I got enough for this job. We're just gonna do 2 light coats, that's it. Nothing crazy. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this mixed up. And we're going to go out there and get the first coat on. Now I probably won't make it around all the panels. Should have enough for 2 coats with the first cupful of clear. I'll probably get 3/4 of the way done and then have to mix up some more clear. Somehow I got this cap stuck on here. I wiped everything down with the tack cloth. So we're ready to go. All right, guys, it's been drying for a little bit. It's probably still a little bit wet, but let's go take a look at it, and we're gonna finish up this video. I give it a 95%. A couple little spots in the gray I wasn't happy with, so I touched them up a little bit, and you can see it a little bit, but it's not horrible. Like I said, I give it a 95%. Nice matte finish to it. Still a little bit blotchy because it's still not fully cured, but it's not bad at all. Tell you what, way nicer than stencils, or than wrapping it with vinyl. So these cabinets are ready to get put back together now. I just need to finish polishing the bolts. This is part 8, I believe, of kicks, and we are past the hard part, guys. So now it's time to start putting this thing back together, these cabinets back together, and one of them is going to another guy that I'm going to be trading, and you'll get to see the video, the game I'm going to be getting when that happens. My Space Firebird original marquee came today, and they sent me the wrong one. He had 2 available, one of them with a bunch of tape and crap on the back and one that wasn't. Of course, he sent me the wrong one. I bought the one that didn't. So we got that all squared away. I'm going to mail him back the one I got today, and he's going to mail me out the new one, or the other one. But it is an original one. I didn't want the one with tape on the back and stuff. It had like residue. And what happens is when you hold it up to the light, you can see it through the marquee. But anyways, on my kick cabinet, I am going to use the multi-Taito board from Arcade Shop. I would really like to find at least the original harness if I could, and just use a harness adapter to JAMA, but I haven't had any luck trying to find one. I think I'm going to be putting together a alpine ski. I think I told you guys that last night, for a guy. He's going to bring me the cabinet. He has the original harness for that, so I'm going to duplicate that harness for my alpine ski. So I'm going to be able to have an original looking harness in my alpine ski, which is nice because I have the original PCB and everything. Obviously, I'm going to run a switcher. I'm not running the Taito power supply. I'm not even dicking with that, because that's just nothing but a nightmare. I know Charlie from Overtime Arcade did get one of those working. I don't know if he ever played with it after that. I don't know if it's still working or if it's just sitting on a shelf, but I know he did get one working. But yeah, in this game, I'm just going to run the multi-board, because it seems like any of the board sets that are available are like partially working or not working, not tested, and they're between $400 to $600. And I don't want to spend that kind of money and have nothing but problems with it, and then find out that I can't find anybody that can fix it if I can't fix it. So that's, to me, I think right now I'm just going to put that board in there, and I really don't want to run the JAMA harness. I really rather would have it set up to be able to accept the original boards if I ever did get them, or if I sold it in the future and somebody else had them, that it would just be a plug and play at that point. But I don't know, we'll see what happens. I got time. I haven't ordered the board yet. I was kind of waiting, because when I order the board, I'm just going to go ahead and order the board, and if I need the JAMA harness, I'm going to order the JAMA harness same time. If not, I'll order the conversion from the original wiring harness to the JAMA adapter for it. So we'll see what happens. I just want to get the game cabinet back together and in the basement, and then I can kind of work on that after. I did get all the plugs in for Kickman finally, so I want to get that thing finished up. And then I'm going to knock out the Space Firebird cabinet, the Phoenix cabinet, and the Tempest cabinet. Okay, I want to get those 3 knocked out and in the basement. I'm just going to probably go in order. Space Firebird's the first one I put back in. Right behind that is Phoenix, and then I got to dig out Tempest, which is way in the back. I want to get those 3 done, the cabinets themselves, so that I can work on putting them together in the basement. So basically, while I'm working on those cabinets, I want to be finishing up Kickman in the basement. So that's kind of my goal, kind of switch back and forth from working on Kickman and one of those 3 cabinets. Like I said, Space Firebird's going to be next, just because it's right by the doorway, easy to access. I think it's still on the dolly actually. So we'll get that in here, we'll knock it out. We're going to put that wood grain vinyl on it. I did find a darker wood grain vinyl, which I bought a roll of it for the Phoenix. It's still not a perfect match, but it's a lot closer. So we're going to use the darker one for the Phoenix and the lighter one on the Space Firebird, because Space Firebird had the same vinyl as Frogger, I think it was. So basically what we need to do with the Space Firebird and the Phoenix is, I don't think that vinyl will peel off of there. It might. We'll try it. If it doesn't peel off, we'll sand it down, and we're going to have to put it into paint. We'll just paint the whole cabinet satin black, and all around the front, sides, all that stuff, and then we'll just apply the vinyl over the automotive satin black, because the vinyl will stick really good to that paint. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm going to end this video. Please hit the thumbs up if you wouldn't mind. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. I'm always making videos. It just lets you know when new videos come out. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe. I do still have a bunch of Troy's Restoration shirts. They're automotive ones for my other channel, but that's what they look like. If anybody's interested in a shirt, they're $24.95 shipped in the US. Obviously, if it's out of the US, it would cost more, and I don't know what it would cost because I'd have to get a shipping quote. But if anybody's interested in a shirt, I don't have a lot of extra larges left. Those were a popular size. I have 2X, 3X, ton of large, ton of mediums, stuff like that. So if anybody's interested in a shirt, let me know. But other than that, like I said, if you wouldn't mind hitting a thumbs up, please also leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think of this. I'm curious to see. I think the gray is about a dead match in my eyes. Obviously, I don't have a cabinet here to verify it, but if anybody out there is watching this, has one, and let me know if you guys think this is a close color. I think it's good. I'm happy with it, so let me know. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Any questions or comments, like I said, feel free to message me. I always try to respond to every single one, and if it's something that's not needing a response, I'll at least give you a thumbs up. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.